From nearly 9% growth, we've seen the economy slipping to 5% levels. So can Finance Minister P Chidambaram do anything in this year's budget to bring growth back and contain the fiscal deficit? A tough task really for him as he gets ready to present the budget. Does he have a magic wand with him? Will he deliver a please-all budget and also take into account some of those political considerations? These are some of the issues we're trying to address in this very special show. We're coming to you from the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, where some of the brightest minds in the country will be asking questions to our panel of experts on the budget as well as on the economy. Let me start by actually introducing our panel of guests to you. We've got with us here Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy. He is the Chairman and Managing Director of Infotech Enterprises. We've also got Mr. Narender Surana. Mr. Surana is the Managing Director of Surana Ventures and also a familiar face to all the students here. We've got Professor Mudit Kapoor from the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, who will also be taking questions from everyone. But before we throw open the house to the students to ask the questions, I have one question to the three panelists here. What is the one thing they want to hear in the Finance Minister's speech this year? Let me start by asking Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy, either one thing you want to hear or something you don't want to hear, or both.
I think I'll try to talk about both, Sweta. I think the Finance Minister has an imperative need to move the economy forward. We need to see a growth budget. A growth budget to me would mean that he probably starts making sure that we start having investments in infrastructure. That's the one thing that I like to see. One thing I don't like to see is increasing taxes.
Okay, that nobody likes.
Nobody likes. And certainly I think that's not going to do good to the economy for sure. So therefore, if you can make sure that he gets a growth and a momentum to the economy and make sure that he does not tax many people, that I think will be a great budget for me.
All right, he doesn't tax too many people. That would be a great budget. It would be a dream budget. Is it a practical one in your wish list?
In the past, the governments have always tried their level best to give subsidies. For example, there's a very interesting research paper that says that agricultural credit goes up by 5% in every electoral years. There's no reason whatsoever to believe that governments have been re-elected primarily by those subsidies that have been given. In fact, if there is any result which shows, if there is any iota of evidence, it is growth that has helped governments to get re-elected. People can see that if these subsidies don't reach them, for example, the loan waiver scam that we often hear about, if they haven't reached them, there's no way people are going to vote the government in for it. So let me tell you, my fellow citizens and the honorable members of the House, no more subsidies. We are going to promote investment and growth. That's what you guys need, and that's what I'm going to give you.
Well, I really doubt if you're going to hear that speech on the 28th. It's really wishful thinking, but he's set the ground clearly to tell us what should be perhaps the wish list coming from people who believe that growth is the answer and not necessarily subsidies. Mr. Surana, your thoughts?
I would feel that industry and infrastructure should get similar benefits like information technology has been getting so far, and all the facilitation for clearances, necessary clearances from government should come within a fixed period of 15 days or 21 days. That is a better wish list than expecting some subsidies.
All right, so those are some of the things that our guests have said, but let me now ask the bright minds here, the students, to ask the questions. Let me start with this young girl here. Go ahead.
Hi, my question is, this year, they're suggesting to impose a wealth tax. And, in the past, the US has done it. In fact, now they're actually going a way further. They're making it lenient and increasing the limits. Do you think for India this is a good thing to do this year? And also, if yes, if you're in the favor, what should be the limit?
Okay, taxing the super rich has been something which has been debated, and why don't we get our panelists to answer that question? Can I start with you? Is it a good idea?
Firstly, only 2.5% of India's population pays taxes. Now, if you're going to tax the super rich, they fortunately have the flexibility of their taxable income to go into those parts which don't get taxed. That is the evidence we see across the world. The right question is, will we be able to tax the super rich? I don't think so. They will find ways to get away by paying taxes. In any case, the highest paying taxes are not from members of whether it's the Ambani families or the others. They are ordinary individuals which perhaps whom we have not even heard of, because most of the income of the super rich comes from the dividend income, which perhaps is not taxed at all. So in my opinion, this wealth tax which is being imposed, it will come back to some executives who perhaps don't have flexibility to switch their income, but on most of the super rich, I don't think it's going to have any impact whatsoever.
Would you agree with that, Mr. Reddy?
I completely agree with what has been said. I think, certainly if we move into that mode of taxing the estate tax that is also possibly the super rich going to be taxed
Inheritance tax.
Inheritance tax.
Right.
Is going to be a big challenge. For the simple reason that the wealth creation in this country has happened in the last 20 to 25 years. And now the succession comes in. When the succession comes in, then you're saying inheritance tax comes in, which means the founders' holdings get diluted in organizations. Similarly, we've also seen about in the last 10 to 20 years a steep increase in real estate prices.
Right.
So a father bequeaths his property to his son, effectively even a home. Then what happens is the son has to sell the home to go and pay for the taxes.
Right.
So the purpose is not going to be served. I think rightly pointed out, there's no more than 2.5% of people pay taxes in this country. It's not going to tax them. I think my submission would be to the Honorable Finance Minister that we should definitely bring more number of people into the tax net.